is going on, everybody? We got the peanut gallery here, more specifically our 5 guys who are the main fantasy contributors, and today we're figuring out our cumulative rankings. Now, each of us have made our own individual, and we had Brennan compile them into a cumulative list. So this will be on our website for future reference. It probably will change as we change our minds on stuff and as stuff goes down. But for the time being, we are rocking with the list. We are all learning for the first time right now. So we're just going to go through, react. I think there's a tie or two that we're going to declare a winner in. And then you'll see these on the website at some point. They've been promised for a long time now. So hopefully everybody's messing with them. Fellas, are we ready to get this show on the road?
I'm ready to get into it.
Do it.
I thought that was pretty clever how you said we're going to declare a winner, but you kind of said like wiener because like whoever's worst will be the wiener of the group. I think that's a pretty cool thing you did there.
Thank you. That is very intentional.
No problem.
All right. So we're going to actually kick it off with the top 10 because it's honestly hard to tell if you go backwards how people stack up. So altogether, it looks like everybody put Christian McCaffrey as their 1. So that's not shocking. Then Saquon at the 2, Michael Thomas at the 3, Zeke, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, Devontae Adams, Julio Jones at the 8, DeAndre Hopkins 9, Derrick Henry 10. Now, what sticks out to me right off the bat, for those who didn't watch our last Kingpins fantasy podcast, we had a real debate. And we were honestly, before the camera started rolling, without even knowing this, debating Alvin Kamara. I personally think he doesn't have the top 5 potential, or at least he has the potential, but I don't see it happening. And I said last show that I would put Dalvin over Kamara, and that seems to be where the group has leaned. Now, some of my
I don't have a problem with that. I was arguing more so, if you tuned into last episode, Ryan was concerned with Alvin Kamara's preposterous injury history.
That's just not the entirety of it. I also went on and on about how Latavius Murray is getting exactly as many red zone, or not exactly as many, but they're scoring the same touchdowns, and he's 5 inches taller and heavier. So I would have to imagine he's the goal line guy.
Yeah, but I'm perfectly fine with people who have Cook over Kamara. I have Cook over Kamara. I just thought it was a little
what?
I just thought it was
not Cook versus Kamara. It was that you disliked Kamara, and we were all arguing in his favor.
Okay, well, Tom was just yelling at me pre-show that it was preposterous that I had Cook over Kamara.
Because of the injury problems.
That's not why. I explained.
Huge reason for Kamara not being.
I see Dalvin Cook as having top 5 potential, even if there's an injury risk that, in my mind, disqualifies him. I don't mess with injuries, really, especially in the first round. So I would not take either, but I think Dalvin Cook has a higher ceiling.
Okay, but Kamara's been relatively healthy throughout his first 3 seasons.
Another thing that's interesting, Thomas behind Barkley. I know I didn't have that.
It did. My top 6 matched our top 6 perfectly.
And then the order of receivers goes after that: Devontae, Julio, and Hopkins, rounding out the top 10's receivers. Anybody have issues with that? I honestly like that list.
I have them in a different order, but same guys.
Yeah. I personally like Zeke over Thomas. I don't know how many people had that.
I didn't have
that.
Yeah, no, I had Thomas at the 2.
Thomas was my
Thomas at the 2. Rob, were you Zeke over Thomas, or?
Yeah, someone had Thomas at the 5. I guess that was you, Tom. I can see that.
No, I think I have Thomas at the 4.
Someone had him at the 5.
I had Michael Thomas at 5.
Okay.
So I don't know about you, Rob, but to me, it's just I like the running backs.
Yeah, no, that's my only explanation of it. It's just that if I'm at the top of the draft, you can get depth and value at wide receiver later on, and you need like that stud running back to carry your team.
And especially this year you can find wide receivers who are at the top of their team's depth chart in like the 7th, 8th round. Is kind of incredible. So that's the reasoning for me having Zeke over Thomas, but I'm not shocked.
I personally like Julio over D-Hop. I'm surprised not more people are upset with that.
I had Julio at the top of that group of three, Devontae, Julio.
Over Devontae, wow.
And, I had Julio, then Adams, then Hopkins.
I had D-Hop, Julio, Joe Mixon, Devontae Adams.
I'm seeing
that is horrible.
someone had
That is
Hopkins at
ridiculous.
14.
You have Mixon over Devontae Adams?
I have Joe Mixon over Devontae Adams. I like Joe Mixon a lot.
Yeah, I'm kind of worried about Hopkins. He doesn't have his role nestled in. I mean, it's his first year in Arizona, but I mean, I think Kyler's going to love him right away. And I wanted to put the most talented wide receiver in my eyes at the top and in a pass-heavy offense. I mean, they do have to feed Christian Kirk and Larry Fitzgerald, which is a concern, but I think he will emerge. He's not going to get the work he got in Houston, but he'll make do with what he gets, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, he's the number one guy on a really good offense, an offense that I expect to be great for fantasy. So that's why I have him highest of these guys.
Someone had him at 6.
Yeah, that was me.
That was you? Okay. So another thing, I honestly can't remember how I ranked them. I did it a while ago. Okay, yeah, I did have Henry over Mixon. Is that where everyone is?
Like I said, I had Mixon over him.
I have Mixon over Henry, and that is mainly because of the pass catching value I think Mixon brings to the table that Henry doesn't, especially because we're talking PPR. I just like I think he has a higher ceiling with the receptions.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so last year, if you look at the rushes, Derrick Henry had 303 attempts. Joe Mixon had 278. And then if you're going to look at the targets, I don't think Derrick Henry's going to come up on this list. But
He has 18 receptions last year, 24 targets.
yeah, Joe
Which is
Mixon
honestly
has
surprisingly low.
45 targets. So that's a 20 – if it's PPR, then Mixon and Henry is going to be a lot closer. Henry is definitely going to be higher in standard drafts.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right. Well, it was close. Moving on to the next 10, Mixon is the 11. Tyreek Hill 12, Chris Godwin 13, and then we have our first tie of the night at 14 between Austin Eckler and Josh Jacobs. We have
Yeah,
to decide this. This can't go on the website as a tie.
I would have Kenyon Drake over both of those two.
Amen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Kenyon
this
Drake's
is
my
cumulative.
RB7.
It's not what Tom
If I
wants.
had to pick between those two, I am going to lean Eckler because of the pass catching. Again, the pass catching abilities. He had I think he had 92 catches last year, and Jacobs as a rookie wasn't really featured in the passing game as much as people were hoping. So I would lean Eckler.
I'm also
taking
leaning Eckler.
Jacobs. Sorry, Ryan. I'm taking Jacobs. I think both of them are fine picks right around this area. To me, it just comes down to Eckler's big role is in the passing game, and with a new quarterback next year, we don't know how heavily he's going to be targeted. It's probably a pretty safe bet that he won't be targeted as heavily as he was last year, losing Phillip Rivers. So I'd rather take the guy who I know is going to get a ton of carries and then might be getting the passing work on top of that, and Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, I just think it is fair that even if you take the most liberal of estimates in terms of Josh Jacobs' pass catching work, that it will not compare to Eckler, no matter if Phillip Rivers is there or not. And I also think that we'll be seeing more rushes for Eckler than he's really had. So I'm leaning Eckler.
And also the thing with Jacobs is that Jason Witten's coming in, and he took like 40 or 50 targets from the Cowboys receivers last year at least. And then you got Henry Ruggs, who they're definitely going to want to get the ball in his rookie season. So I don't see Jacobs' targets in the receiving game going up too much, honestly.
So
Jason
Eckler
does not concern me.
Yeah,
even.
I'm Eckler.
Well, that's our majority, but Rob, where are you leaning?
Yeah, no, it's 3-1 right now, but I'm on Jacobs, the Josh Jacobs train more than Eckler. And that's because I don't know what Tyrod Taylor is as a quarterback with the Chargers. That's just my main thing.
That's fair. And someone mentioned, I don't even remember at this point. We've done so many shows that I can't remember if it was on air, off air, but someone did mention that while Phillip Rivers is wildly immobile, Tyrod is mobile. So where Rivers would dump off, people could see Tyrod running. I honestly think Herbert will get the job sooner rather than later. And I think the young quarterback loves his close options. So I honestly am confident Eckler won't suffer too much.
It is
Especially-
interesting, though. Herbert is also – I was the one who brought
He
up
is
the
mobile.
Tyrod. Herbert's a mobile guy. Something a little shocking here is I have 3 running backs ranked above this pair of running backs. I already mentioned Kenyon Drake, who we have at 16, but I also have Miles Sanders and Clyde Edwards-Helaire ahead of Eckler and Jacobs.
Okay, that's too high for Edwards-Helaire, but we'll round out the first 20 here. So after that tie, that leaves Eckler at 14, Jacobs at 15, Drake at 16, Jones at 17, and then Travis Kelce and George Kittle back to back, but not tied. They are 18 and 19, and then Sanders rounds out our 20.
The
That's
only
honestly
thing that stood out to me was Aaron Jones. Honestly, I
Yeah.
think Aaron Jones is a wee bit high for my liking.
Oh,
Now,
he's way too
he was
high.
at
Who has
17.
him at 11?
It is almost undoubtedly myself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It is
I-
actually
I
not.
have
I
Oh,
have
wait.
that
Let me
11.
count. 1, 2, 3.
I mean, do you guys? He's not.
I have
gonna
him at
lose.
14. It was not me.
He's going to be on the field for third downs. Like AJ Dillon won't take anything from that, and Jamal Williams is the one who's going to be hurt from the AJ Dillon pick.
I agree.
I mean, the Packers didn't add any receivers, so it's not like there's a sure thing besides Devontae. I mean, who's next? Alan Lazard. So, or like Equanimous St. Brown. I don't even know. Like, I think it's going to be Aaron Jones who's going to be getting a lot of targets.
I'm a little concerned. I think the addition of Dillon in the second round, like a second round pick, investing that kind of capital, you're gonna use him. And Dillon's like a bigger bruising back. And I think already Jones touchdowns will probably see some regression. 19's a pretty high number. And the addition of Dillon, if he's used on the goal line, I could see a huge drop off in touchdowns, and then
It's not,
3 capable running backs there. It's not a situation I wanna invest in.
do I expect RB2? No. Obviously, like I said, he's my 14th highest player. But like you mentioned, 19 touchdowns. I don't care what amount you think a rookie is going to eat into that. I honestly see no more than 5, 6. Because Jones didn't score 19 touchdowns on the goal line. I mean, the man is an athlete. I remember he won me a fantasy championship breaking a 50-yard rush on a solid Vikings defense. Like, he just makes 3-yard runs into 50-yard runs all the time. And like Pat mentioned, he's basically all that offense has in terms of like where Rodgers is looking. They still manage
Outside
to
of
score
Adams.
so high. And I'm just not really worried. I think he's a great back in a great system for him.
I mean, you just look at some of these guys behind him, like Sanders, as of right now, does not have that kind of competition. Boston Scott is there, but Scott's like a scat back. Scott's not gonna eat into Sanders' workload. If they sign someone else, I guess I could be a little worried. Clyde Edwards-Helaire also. Damian Williams is there, but I'm expecting Clyde to be the 3-down back, whereas Jones, I don't know. He could be a 3-down back, but I don't know why you'd invest a second-round pick in a player to not use him.
What it comes down to for me is, like Tom said, even if you took A.J. Dillon out of the equation, I think Aaron Jones' touchdowns are likely to regress. And then put A.J. Dillon on top of that, and I don't see it for Aaron Jones. I mean, he'll still be a dependable fantasy guy, but I don't see him as a top 20 pick.
Who put him at 11? That's just
Yeah,
Pat.
that was me.
all right. So
Okay.
I think I'm higher on him than Tom and Dan. I'm kind of right where Ryan put him. I have him at 13, so I'm kind of higher on him the most.
Yeah.
Just because I think just because of the draft, how they didn't get many weapons, like you guys said. And yeah, his touchdowns will probably go down, but that's why he's not ranked as the second best running back.
Right.
True.
Okay. So Sanders was honestly lower than I was. What really surprised me is both of the top 2 tight ends over Sanders. How do we feel about Kelsey over Kittle? I think, Dan, we've talked and you said that's not how you have it.
I have Kittle a lot higher than Kelsey.
What? Kelsey's like the number 1 tight end for like the past 3 seasons.
Kittle had an underwhelming year last year, honestly. I had him and I did not get what I drafted for him, like how high I drafted him.
I honestly could not see myself drafting either at this range, but I definitely, like Pat's saying, I don't think he's a top 20.
I would take Kelsey at this spot. Kittle to me, I also like Kittle. I actually like both of them, but I don't see how you can have Kittle over Kelsey with the consistent production Kelsey puts in year out.
Kelsey is great, but every year he gets another year older. Kittle is coming into his prime. I think either of them are a fine pick. They're both monsters, great tight ends. To me, I like the after the catch ability of Kittle. You know, any week he's viable to break an 80-yarder. But yeah, I don't know. I like Kittle.
Yeah, so if we look at the targets from last year, Kelsey had 136, Kittle had 107, and Kittle is going to have to deal with Ayuk coming into that offense. Kansas City, I mean, Edwards-Helaire is going to eat out of that, unfortunately, for Kelsey, but there's not really any wide receivers that are going to emerge that weren't there last year.
Pat always ready with the stats.
I
got the targets, got the rush attempts. That's all you need.
And
Kelsey's locked in as my tight end 1. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think there's more of an argument.
I have Kelsey over Kittle, and Tom, what you said, like you don't see how they could be ranked over Sanders. For me, we haven't really seen like the game, like week to week game winning ability from Sanders. But like Kelsey and Kittle, they have the ability like week in week out to win you that week.
That's true. That is fair.
No, I actually have both the tight ends over Sanders. I'm actually the highest on Kelsey and the highest on Kittle.
The highest on Kelsey was 12.
And that's me. And then
That's
Kittle.
Kittle was 15.
I
That's
have
also
Kittle at 15 as well.
I haven't seen a tight end at 12 since like
Gronk.
Yeah, Gronk or Jimmy Graham like 10 years ago.
I was thinking Jimmy Graham.
I saw this graph and it shows the positional value for each position in the draft, like where you can get people based on how they're projected to do this season. And the drop-offs in running back and tight end were just so severe after like the earlier rounds.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the tight end position value, like there's 2 bona fide tight ends that have like literally no question marks, and that's Kelsey and Kittle. So that's why I'm pretty high on both of them.
All right. We got to keep it rolling. So the next 10, you're looking at 21, Kenny Galladay, 22, Nick Chubb, 23, Allen Robinson, 24, Mike Evans, 25, DJ Moore, 26, Edwards-Helaire. And then we have a tie at 27 between Lamar Jackson and Leonard Fournette. And then actually, there's another tie inside the top 30. So we'll talk Jackson and Fournette. It's tough now that it's not the same position. What is everyone thinking?
I think it's very easy because it's not the same position. This is way too high for any quarterback. As great as Lamar is, it's Leonard Fournette for me by a wide margin.
That is not what I was expecting.
Lamar Jackson until 35.
I don't like either, to be honest.
I like Fournette.
I just don't like them.
I mean,
27.
Like we've been saying, you want your running backs. Wide receivers go forever, and I think you can get solid quarterbacks for a good while. I would probably go Fournette, but I want to see where I have Lamar. Someone else can give their 2 cents.
I would go Fournette as well, but I don't like him at 27 at all.
Yeah, I would hope that I'm not in the situation where I have to pick a running back. But if we did consider the situation where Michael Thomas, say someone drafts Michael Thomas second, then on the wraparound, what are they going to have? They're going to have 23 and 26. So who's going to be available for them? What running
According
backs?
to this, 23 and 26 leaves you with
Yeah, Edwards-Helaire.
Galladay, Chubb, Robinson, Evans, right?
I think
Yeah,
Chubb's also a really good value around there.
Well, for like running backs, what running? I mean, I think if you take Thomas high, you're gonna hope that you land Edwards-Helaire on the wraparound, and then
I mean, Edwards-Helaire is like, I don't know who was trying to lower his value. He is criminally ranked in this 26. Come on, guys.
we don't know yet in that offense. Damian Harris is still there.
So are we all
Hey.
going Fournette though? We gotta decide.
It's funny for me. Like I'm kind of with Tommy. Like 27, I think is for me at least in my rankings is a little bit too early for both of them. I have them ranked only one apart, but I have them at 36 and 37, with Fournette being one higher.
Yeah, I'm with you, Rob.
So that's Fournette, at least for me, Dan and Rob. I know. What did you guys say?
I went Fournette as well.
I went Lamar, but
Okay.
yeah, that's fine.
And then 29, we have Mahomes. So in our rankings, that means Fournette's 27, Lamar 28, Mahomes 29. Someone was high on quarterbacks. And then at 30, we have a tie between the much argued Amari Cooper. Ever since the podcast, we haven't stopped talking about him. And then Juju. Where are we picking in that duo?
I think opinions have changed with the recent debates today. For me, it's pretty easy. I'm taking Juju Smith-Schuster here with the return of Ben Roethlisberger. Cooper to me is, I'm a little frightened by it. I found this stat today that there's only one receiver in the past 5 years to finish as a top 10 receiver with less than a 20% target share. And Cooper was at 20.7% last year, and they just drafted CeeDee Lamb. So I'm less optimistic about Amari Cooper. They also have Gallup there. It's a very talented wide receiver core, and
Yeah.
I think Juju's the clear alpha in that offense. We don't know if he can be an alpha, but if he can be in a Roethlisberger-led offense, that's going to be a top 10 receiver for sure.
Yeah, to me, the question marks are equal for both of them at this point. I think Cooper is a bit more consistent, but has very little upside from his – like this has him at 11 if he is the winner. So even 11 or 12, I mean, that's like optimistic, and I don't see it ever being higher. So I'm going Juju too.
Yeah, I got Juju. Just with Big Ben coming back, I think they're going to I mean, there's going to be no AB, but I mean, Juju is – I trust him to grow from that bad second year. It's just a sophomore slump. We'll get over it.
Yeah, I took Cooper. The two of them are close for me. What it comes down to is I do think Juju has the higher ceiling. I think if one of them were to finish in the top 5, I'd be less surprised if it was Juju. But I also think there's not a chance that Amari Cooper isn't at least a high-end wide receiver too. And with Juju, there's a much, much lower floor as we saw last season.
I think
So
that's a good point.
Cooper.
Yeah, and for me, I have they're actually ranked like 2 spots away from me, but I have Cooper 2 spots higher. And for me, just because there's so much love coming towards Dak, it just kind of seems weird if his wide receiver 1 is just being pushed down draft boards.
It does feel a little strange, but honestly, I swiped right on Cooper at the 30 pick because that's where Fantasy Pros has him. If I'm not mistaken, we just chose Juju, right? Me, Tom, and Pat.
Yep.
So that leaves Cooper at 31 for us, and I am announcing that I have changed to a swipe left at that range, just because I was sold last podcast, just by the inconsistency concerns and all that week to week. Okay.
For the rest of these guys, I have one that I definitely want to shout out, and that's Nick Chubb.
Okay.
Where is he in our rankings?
22.
22.
Yeah, I think that is entirely because of one man's slander against him.
Who has him at
I
40?
get the concerns.
That Ford?
I get that Kareem Hunt's presence is potentially going to take a lot of work from him. But Ryan has him as the RB 40. And
No,
That is not true.
Player 40.
RB 40, and he would be
Player 40. Big difference. My apologies. But I said player 22 is too low. Player 40 is preposterous. I don't
RB
think any of
16.
the rest of us have him lower than player 20.
RB 16.
I think I might. I have him at 26.
Find him right now.
I got him at 17.
I think this is going to be a big year for the Browns, but primarily a big year for Odell. I think Jarvis is going to stay very prominent. You always have Njoku there. And then Kareem Hunt proved that he can be just as capable as Hunt or as Chubb. And I honestly think that both will be solid, with the edge going to Chubb a little bit. But I don't think RB16 is in any way preposterous to see for Chubb this year.
I think he was the RB15 in the weeks that he played with Chubb. So I'm not 100% sure. But I do know that Hunt outscored him in 6 of the 8 weeks they shared the
But
field.
that was also with Chubb already playing half a season and Kareem Hunt coming in with fresh legs. So I do think that their usage is going to start to skew a lot more towards Chubb.
But I think the talent is pretty similar.
Mhm.
And we know Hunt's getting the passing work because Hunt is definitely a better pass catcher. Chubb's a better runner. But I also think Hunt is a talented runner. So I don't think it'll be that different. I don't know. I'm a little concerned for Chubb, but 40 is way too low. I think 22
That's
is
the RB16. You just mentioned he was the RB15 with Hunt.
I'm not sure about that stat, so don't quote me on that. But yeah, I think I don't know. I think Dan's got a good point there with the fresh legs. So we'll see what happens. That's one of the more interesting backfields. It's definitely one to watch. We'll see what happens in Cleveland this year.
All right. I guess we'll move on. 30 through 40.
Oh, wait. I had 1 point. Galladay is too high for me.
Yeah, okay. We can
For a
talk
guy
that.
who caught like 70 balls last year, I would take Allen Robinson over him, and I have them on 2 different tiers. I just think too high for Galladay at 21.
We did talk
over
this
there.
exact comparison in the last podcast, and we do want to keep time in our minds. So if you're really looking to hear our thoughts on Galladay versus Robinson, go to the Kingpins Fantasy Podcast episode 6. But I agree with Galladay over Robinson, just for the record. Okay.
I don't think you would if you let me argue it, but we'll move on.
We argued it already.
Give me another chance.
Okay. Well, after that tiebreaker, our 30 through 40 begins with Cooper at 31, OBJ at 32, Cooper Kupp at 33, Chris Carson 34, then Gurley 35, Gordon 36, Thielen 37, Robert Woods 38, Keenan Allen 39, and then a tie at 40 between Calvin Ridley and Devontae Parker. I honestly have some room to move here. I think I'm starting. I'll go. I honestly can't pick one. I want to hear if anyone has a decided one they pick over the other.
I mean, we can talk about these first 8 guys and then get into the 39-40 disagreement.
It's 40-41 actually, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
I have a player that I kind of want to start with, and I think it's Todd Gurley. I'm just the highest. I think I'm the highest on him. I actually
22. Is that you?
I have him at 22.
Wow.
And that's just because, like, I know I liked him on the podcast. I'd probably seeing where I ranked him because that was before I ended up ranking everyone. It would probably turn to a super honestly, because I was just thinking about it, and the more I think about it, I just start loving the Falcons and the Falcons offense more and more. So, and I just feel like Todd Gurley, like I said this on the podcast, he's had like a theme where he has like great season, terrible season, bounce back season, and we're in line for that bounce back season. I just expect
I'm actually with you, Rob. I think Gurley's too low here. I think I would put him right behind Juju. I think the Falcons offense, which is clear, like one of the best in the league, doesn't really have that many pass catching options besides their 2 stud receivers and the newly acquired Hayden Hurst. I think Gurley will definitely get a lot of pass catching work, and I would definitely take him over Chris Carson. It would not surprise me if Gurley stays healthy, and that's a big if. He's had knee problems, arthritis problems, so we'll see if he can stay healthy. But if he does stay healthy for the whole year, they don't have a good running back in that backfield outside of him. He'll probably get fed pretty well.
I think they'll feature Ito Smith a good amount because of those injury concerns.
I mean, talented players see the field, and if the Falcons are good this year, I don't know how they'll take Gurley off the field for Ito Smith.
Yeah,
Just
I
to
agree.
preserve
I'm
him.
definitely very excited.
Oh,
We've lost Dan.
I'll continue
Dan
what
is
saying.
excited. He's
He
a
was
little
very
too
excited
excited.
about Todd Gurley, as we all should be, if he's healthy. So big things to look forward to with Todd Gurley.
That's what Dan was excited about.
Okay. But what are we feeling with the Carson, then Gurley, then Gordon? I honestly,
I have Gurley above all of them.
Same. And I do not really like Melvin this year, to be honest.
Do what I got.
I feel like all of them have some question marks and could best the other two. But hey,
Hi, Danny. You're excited. Come on, give it to us.
My computer just turned off. I don't know what happened.
What are
You're
you excited about, Dan?
I'm excited about Todd Gurley and Atlanta's offense. We'll see what happens with the knee, but if his knee is a go, I think he is going to be a lock and loaded RB1. I think he'll be really good. I don't have him ranked as an RB1 because the knee does concern me, but I am very excited for the potential Todd Gurley has this season.
True.
Yeah, I had just because the Seahawks and Broncos are more of they favor the run more than the Falcons. That's why I had Gurley close behind. I mean, it is concerning with Philip Lindsay, but I mean, Gordon had this whole year to really recharge himself. Didn't play till what, like week 10, week 11.
It was only like week 5.
Week 5 or 6.
Oh,
yeah,
week 5.
Longer than that.
And then
He
Chris
just
Carson
week 10 or
has his shit cut out for him. I don't know what's gonna happen with Rashad Penny. He's been lurking there.
Carlos Hyde's there too now.
I have to admit, I am a little sickened by Thielen over Keenan Allen.
I mean, I would take Woods over both of them.
Well, Woods is currently keeping them apart. It goes Thielen, Woods, Keenan Allen.
Yeah, I prefer Woods over Thielen, but I think the Keenan Allen, I would also take Thielen over Allen, and that's just because we know what he's got at quarterback, and we don't really know what Keenan has at quarterback, and the chemistry Kirk and Thielen have compared to this new Chargers offense.
Yeah, I agree. I also had Thielen over Allen. I don't know that Stephon Diggs leaving necessarily helps Thielen, but I think that it sure as heck doesn't hurt him. And I think this is right around where he would have been like the past couple seasons. So I'm totally happy with him there.
Robert Woods is a guy who you wouldn't – I don't know if you guys might know this, but for the listeners, he was the 8th most targeted receiver last year. So, I mean, Jared Goff definitely is very comfortable with feeding him the ball. Post-game locker room, he's very comfortable with doing the same thing but with multiple balls. And I think that puts him over Thielen and whatever the other guy we were talking about.
Cool.
Keenan Allen. All right, we got a tie to settle, though.
Oh. Let me
Calvin
just say
Ridley,
one thing
Devontae
about Woods
Parker.
is that when Higbee emerged in
Bruh.
that Rams offense, Woods was an absolute stud in fantasy. I think it was the last 6 weeks of the year. Woods was putting up top 5 fantasy wide receiver numbers, maybe at least top 10. He was going crazy those like last 6 weeks, and Higbee's gonna be there this year. And
He loves Higby.
yeah, I also love Higbee, but I think Woods I might even take over Cooper Kupp. That one's really close for me.
Interesting. Well, we got 5 spots apart. Wide
Yeah.
receiver 14 and 16 currently. Yeah, no. All good points. I think Woods is the most sure thing out of the Thielen, Keenan, Woods group. But yeah, remains to be seen. We do have a tie though. And I have thought about it a little bit. And I think I'm going Devontae Parker.
I had Devontae Parker and Calvin Ridley back-to-back in my rankings, so I also don't have a strong opinion. But funny enough, I'm going to go with Calvin Ridley, who I had one lower than the Devontae Parker originally. But over time, the more I look at it, I'm really excited and I'm starting to believe in Calvin Ridley's breakout this season. He's shown he clearly has the talent. He's got another year in the league. I think this is it. I think Ridley's really going to start to shine this year.
Yeah, I'm taking Ridley as well. The Falcons are probably like the most pass-heavy offense. It's either them or the Buccaneers. They're two of the teams that just air the ball out.
I know the
And
Rams were tied with someone for most pass attempts, and I do not
The
think
Rams
it was holy fucking Falcons. I think it was Bucks and
I know
Rams.
the Falcons and the Bucks are both very high up there. And Ridley, to me, he kind of did break out. Like, he was tearing things up before he went down and out for this season. He was really getting into a groove, and I think we'll see more of that this year. I do like Parker because he's the he's obviously going to be the number one in that Dolphins offense. But I would be concerned if we do see Tua enter at like week 5 because we don't know what Tua is going to bring to the table. I'd actually prefer Fitzpatrick with Devontae Parker.
I do too.
Know what we're getting with Fitzpatrick.
I mean, what we got with Fitzpatrick last season was pretty solid.
Yeah, he was a wide receiver 1.
Patriots fans would remember that.
Yeah.
Eagles fans too.
First of all, yeah.
Eagles fans too.
Ryan Fitzpatrick just nightmare sometimes. But I have Calvin Ridley over Devontae Parker. And the main reason for that probably is what I actually agree with what you guys are saying. I like Ryan Fitzpatrick more for Devontae Parker because the chemistry, if Tua comes in at like Tommy said, week 5, I feel like that would just mess him up. And I say there's actually no way Ryan Fitzpatrick finishes the season as the Dolphins starting quarterback.
Yeah, I think Tua is seeing the field at some point, so that's why I lean Ridley. But
So we're leaning Ridley. Okay. Well, alphabetically, it put them in that order, so that's how it'll stay. We ready for the 40s?
Do it.
yes.
We got now Devontae Parker at 41, David Johnson 42, Lev Bell 43, Cortland Sutton 44, and then a tie between A.J. Brown and Tyler Lockett, and that's honestly not close for me. That's Lockett. Do we want to stop or do we want to hear to 50?
It's close for me. I have it Lockett.
I didn't hear what anyone said, but Jonathan Taylor out after that tie at 47, Ertz 48, Andrews 49, Diggs 50.
I want to just call out real quick, I guess, before you do the tie. One person who I don't even have that high is Le'Veon Bell. But over the past couple days, I keep looking at the Jets and Le'Veon Bell's situation, and I'm kind of gaining more and more optimism. He's going to get a lot of work. He's going to catch passes. I think the Jets' offense should definitely take steps forward compared to what it did last year. And So if he's healthy and doesn't regress with age, I think Bell should be a really good value this season.
Dan, I was
I
going
will
to say a very similar thing, but about David Johnson.
I actually also have David Johnson a lot higher. I would say
I'm
not the same thing about David Johnson.
No.
I'm getting pretty excited about David Johnson this year. I don't like him in the like long term in Dynasty, but this season he could actually he could be a stud in this Texans offense. Like, it's a good offense, and if you look at what he did in the beginnings of last season, he was popping off before he randomly just got benched. And then Drake took over. So David Johnson, to me, if he gets the workload that I don't know if he can handle,
I don't think he can, and that's my problem.
Well, they traded DeAndre Hopkins for him, so they obviously love him. And well, I'm going to stick with Le'Veon Bell. I have him at 25. I don't know if that's the highest.
It
But
is.
the Jets added Ryan Khalil,
Yeah.
very experienced center. They added Kelechi Osemele, who is a very experienced tackle. They're giving attention to that offensive line.
Makai Becton.
They
first round
drafted Mekhi Becton. So, I mean, it looks like they're going to want to run the ball more, and Sam Darnold is only going to be more comfortable. He's going to be more of a threat downfield.
He's not
And-
going to have mono. Can only
is
get that once.
And David Johnson, I had him when Carson Palmer was slinging it in Arizona. So when they got that, I mean, he had a deep threat last year, but he got fucked over by the coaches. I like David Johnson. I have him at 32. That offense is going to be
Also
pretty
the
strong.
highest.
You got Will Fuller with the speed, and you got Brandon Cooks with the speed. I mean, I am worried about Duke Johnson getting some targets, but I like David Johnson getting a lot of touches on first and second down.
I like both of those guys pass catching backs. I'm biased. I'm not going to lie. Go Gators, baby. But I watched P. Ryan week in and week out just take screens to the house. I thought he was a little underdrafted this year. He makes guys miss, and he's a good pass catcher, and I could see that eating into Le'Veon Bell. And I also really think Duke Johnson will eat into David Johnson. So I'm not really – I mean, at this value, you're not getting the perfect running back. I don't hate either one, really. But, yeah, that's just how I'm seeing both of them right now.
I agree about Duke Johnson, but I don't think there's a chance LaMichael P. Ryan hurts into Bell's work unless there's some sort of injury there.
I also I just can't read the offense. I hate Gase, but like Pat was mentioning, I love what they've done with the O-line. So it's a tough call. As far as the tie goes, I am heavily leaning Lockett. I see someone had A.J. Brown at 24.
Disgusting.
I want to hear that take.
Disgusting.
I want to hear that take.
Um,
To be Rob.
Yeah,
Mr.
no.
He's gonna get lynched.
yeah. So I changed my opinion on that. I actually really like AJ Brown, but just think like I guess the podcast kind of like opened my eyes a little bit, like how they are, like the targets in a PPR league. I didn't realize that like the targets for a number one receiver that he's getting just doesn't compare to like the rest of the NFL.
Can I give a little context, Rob?
Yeah.
A.J. Brown had more than 4 catches last year, 3 times in the whole season, and that includes his postseason. He had more than 4 catches 3 times, and he averaged like
Nuts.
5 targets per game. He was catching like 3 passes a game.
And I will say I do expect that to go up though, especially with the chemistry. They just re-signed Tannehill, but I don't expect him to become like this elite wide receiver one.
I mean, if you saw what they were doing in the postseason, they were just – and this is where they had their success. It was just running and running the ball. I think there were 2 playoff games where he caught 1 pass.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to be able to keep that
Tannehill.
up for a full year. They're not going to give Derrick Henry 24 touches a game all season long. He
I
can't hold up to that.
I think in the regular season, I mean, Derrick Henry pretty much did that last year.
He got just under 20 carries a game.
Okay.
But also with Tyler Lockett, though, he's also someone that would just like explode one game, then have a dud the next week.
I just
Probably
trust his chemistry with Russell Wilson
Oh yeah, I will take Russell Wilson every single time over
over
Ryan
Tannehill.
Tannehill.
And Lockett did actually end the year kind of poorly, and DK Metcalf was emerging. But
Yeah.
Lockett did in those first like 10 games was incredible.
Well, it's because Lockett, like towards the end of the year, Lockett would literally alternate between like just catching like 50-yard touchdowns and then having one catch the following week.
Yeah.
So
No, that was like right after his injury, but I'm definitely leaning Lockett. and
Yeah,
I-
but thinking about it now, I would probably flip Lockett and AJ Brown, then move AJ Brown down.
yeah.
All right. Well, Dan and Pat, we have our majority, but if you have a quick word.
You know, my voice doesn't matter. So,
Voice always matters, Pat.
oh, thank you, bro.
Lock it.
Lock it.
Lock it in.
I think
Already
wait,
did.
Dan, I think we have a bet to announce.
Yes, that's true. Me and Tom haven't decided on what the stakes of it are yet. We will announce once we do, because I have a feeling this won't be the last bet made. But we have bet on AJ Brown. I don't remember what the exact finish was.
Wide receiver 19 or better. I'm saying no. I'm off the AJ Brown hype.
Me as well.
I do not see top 19 finish in a PPR league with that kind of target number.
I do.
So
But I definitely
19,
like Lock it more.
Dan wins if it's 19, Tom wins if it's 20.
See.
Yes.
I'm
Who else-
excited. I did not. This is a surprise.
Who else do
I'm
they have in
excited to see
Tennessee?
what a torture. we
Adam
can offer.
Humphries.
Jonnu Smith.
Yeah, all I thought of was Johnny Smith. Like no one's
I mean,
really.
what did they have last year, Pat?
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I
the
know,
same
but
thing,
Corey
except they had
Davis.
Delaney Walker.
Playoffs, it was just Henry.
Henry's the guy there. AJ Brown's not a top 19 receiver. You can etch that in stone.
All right.
We'll see.
Well, I think we're going to cut it off with our top 50. We've been going for some time now. Quality discussion. Love talking to you guys, but we don't want a 2-hour episode here. Unless anyone else has something super pressing, I guess we'll cut the tape.
It's all good here.
Jonathan Taylor for Heisman.
Did
He's
land at
going back.
47. That's pretty high. All right. Well, signing off. Maybe we'll do a deeper round show in the weeks to come. Definitely look out for it. And thanks for watching.